Hi everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and the episode of Dyepot Weekly you are about to watch is been a part of a real journey. In the week before the video that you are about to watch, I attempted to set up my first ever indigo vat using some American-grown plant-derived indigo from Stony Creek Colors. And they generously provided this to me. Unfortunately, my attempt to set up an iron vat did not go as planned, and it ended up as a massive fail. Thanks to some suggestions and a lot of help from Stony Creek Colors, I went through the process to re-isolate my indigo so that way I could try to convert my vat from an iron vat to a hydrosulfite vat. If you want to see the fail and then how I was re-isolating the indigo, you should check out the first two videos on my Indigo Week playlist that you can find on the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel. Now, where we are about to start is a couple days after I attempted to isolate the indigo, and now we are going to actually attempt to create our hydrosulfate vat using the recollected indigo and our Rit Color remover. Initially, I was hoping to have this video just be two parts, but when I realized I was over 20 minutes in before actually adding the Rit Color remover to the indigo to set up the new vat, I realized that I should split this up. But I do think that there's value in the whole journey, which is why I have edited the other videos as well. So you can see the two prequels to this Dyepot Weekly episode. It's been 2 days, it's a new morning, and we're ready to start resurrecting this bath. But the one thing I will say is that letting it settle for 2 days is going to allow me to remove some more of the liquid. Just because the indigo really settled a lot further. And this is nice. Yeah, you can see that the color that I'm drying up is our beautiful pinky red rust color. And so the less of that we have in here, oh, okay, and I'm starting to pull some up, but I was able to remove a little more. Okay, but now we can start to get started. We started this whole process with about 50 grams of 35% pure indigo, and it was suggested that I use about a 3-to-1 ratio of this Rit Color remover to indigo. Well, 17.5 grams of indigo is a little over 50 grams. So one packet is pretty much exactly what I need. There's a little more of this color remover than I might need, but I figure that erring on a little more of that won't be too much of a problem. Now I am going to add some not quite boiling water to this. The goal is to get this, the temperature of warm tap water, maybe around 60 degrees Celsius. And given that there's so little volume left in here, add a little more. I think this should be pretty good. Probably should have grabbed a stirring stick from inside, but I'm just going to go ahead and stir things up before I add this powder. And so we're going to add the powder, close it up, and cross fingers, I think. So I was told I don't need to pre-dissolve this. I can add it directly to this container. My tip actually suggested that I use a 1 quart jar, and I've got a 2 quart jar here. So Now ooh, look, that's green. That's green. Okay. Haha. Do you guys see that? I pulled out the spoon and instead of looking blue, that's looking green. That means I think that we've got some reduction going on, you guys. I think it's working. I think it's working. Let me bring the camera down so you guys can see. Okay, I think it's hard for you to see, but it's definitely looking green. The change was almost instantaneous. This is not looking like a navy blue anymore. It's getting more and more greenish. And on the spoon, you could see, but I wonder if that green is turning back blue again. Oh, this is awesome. This is so cool. Woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. Okay, I am gonna I'm not sure how long this needs to go, but I'm gonna let it go, I think at least an hour. But we also want some of the powder to settle because we'll be pouring off, this is sort of a stock solution now. So we'll be pouring the liquid into a new vat that we're gonna create. But woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. Two things to note. One, the spoon is now all blue. I don't see any trace of that green. And two, we've got something that is separating here in this jar. Now, whatever is the solid that is sort of slowly settling is definitely green now, not blue. Whereas before there might have been some chalky white, but it was predominantly blue. The liquid looks a little brownish, but it's a little hard for me to say what is, the color, because I'm sure that there would still be some rust color left over from before. But we definitely have something that is reducing and oxidizing. So I am very, very optimistic. And all this is only about 30 minutes after we started. I'm gonna go ahead and mix this up. I suppose I could stir it, but I want to get as much of the green stuff in solution as possible. So yeah, that's definitely looking green. And I see more blue along the top where it's exposed to the bit of oxygen in there. So yeah, I'm now, okay, I've inverted it like that. This is the second time I've done it. I'm gonna let it just sit for the final 30 minutes and then we'll start preparing our vat. After 30 minutes, it's about half settled and I don't see the color changing too much, but I'm gonna give it another 30 minutes to try to let the sediment settle a bit more. It seems like that's an amount of time that should work pretty well. I just opened the container up and look at that flower. Oh, things seem to be working. Okay, so one of the things that I had looked up is that if you're seeing a lot of a white precipitate, that means that the solution might not be basic enough to for all of the indigo to be soluble. So I'm actually going to add, oh dear, let's pour this over here. I'm going to add a teaspoon of soda ash or washing soda. Now that, my instructions recommend adding lye, and I was told to potentially make this a little more basic for using cotton anyway. I'm still going to go ahead and try wool, but I am going to add some of this in here now. And I know I'm stirring it up again. It means I'm going to have to do more washing, but if this can help us get some more of our indigo soluble, then that is a good thing. But look at that green color, and watch the spoon. Do you see that turning? I don't know if I'm on camera, but oh, I don't even know if it's in focus. But that is going from green to blue. So, oh, this is cool. Okay, let's start getting ready. Looks like we're gonna just be dealing with the sediment. We're gonna have to do washing. This is not going to be a perfectly clean situation. There'll be some undissolved indigo to rinse out, but I think that given that I thought that this was going to be a complete failure at one point, I am not super concerned. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to take my 5-gallon bucket and fill it up with warm tap water. So I'm going to get hot tap water to fill up this bucket and we'll get started. I've got my 5-gallon bucket full of warm tap water. Right here I have measured out approximately 20 grams of the color remover. And I think that I've got my stirring stick that dissolved nice and easily. I've added a teaspoon of the soda ash already to our stock solution, but I'm going to go ahead and add another teaspoon to our vat. Again, you can see that basically didn't even need to stir it for that to dissolve. And now let's add in our stock solution. Just so you can see, I don't know if we're focused on it, but there's a little flower on the top. I'm going to expect to see that on our vat. So the sediment, I'm not going to be decanting off the sediment, but I'm going to pour our greenish liquid into our vat, and there is some sediment behind. I am saving that for now. I'm just closing off the jar, and I am going to stir our vat slowly. Now, in theory, it should become clear at some point. There's a lot of stuff going on in here, a lot of sediment. I don't want to worry about it too much. But I'm now going to, since we're not quite ready to use it, going to cover it, and I'm going to wait like maybe 10 minutes or so as I get everything else set up so we can try dyeing in our vat. I'm back, and let's give it a go. We've got our vat, which I haven't looked at since I covered it, some plain water to rinse off, and then some pre-soaked yarn. We have both some 100% cotton. This is Knit Picks Dishy. And then I have some 100% wool, which is the Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted weight wool. I originally had probably a half dozen of projects planned to use with this, and I don't see a flower, but I do see a film. What happens if we push this film aside? That looks green, you guys. That's good. Maybe it's still a little too blue-green, but I want to give this a go. I know that there's probably going to be a lot more rinsing involved. I'm not sure how many different projects we'll do, but let's give this a shot. So in theory, you want to introduce as little air to the vat as possible. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to put these both in at the same time. The water is definitely not clear. So like my hand is just below the surface and you can barely see it. But do you see that the yarn, you can kind of see that it has a neon green quality. Unlike when I tried this in my failed vat where we tried putting it in, and I'm just sort of moving my hand slowly, and the yarn immediately was like looking like a blue-gray. So the fact that we have something that's looking a yellow-green means that something is working. Uh-oh, please tell me that I am recording. Yes, okay. So we have this wonderful, wonderful neon green. I'm not sure how long I've been here. And honestly, I don't know what the procedure is from here, but my plan is to do sort of what I was going to do with the original iron vat. I am going to remove this from the vat and immediately go into the rinse water to rinse out as much as I can. So let's give this a shot. Oh, I guess I'm supposed to squeeze this out below, but look, we're already turning blue as we come up. It's already starting to oxidize. Okay, that is cool. And the rinse bath has turned blue. That happened, oh gosh, I hope you guys could see that. Happened really fast, but here. Can you see we've got this highlighter yellow and we see some blue, and as I'm like trying to rip off my gloves so I can try to zoom in on this for you. Let's watch this color change. Already the wool turned blue really, really fast. And I'm covering this up. But the cotton seems to be oxidizing a bit slower. And maybe that's just because it's easier for the air to have access to the wool. I'm not sure, but either way, this is awesome. My gloves got a little dirty. I am just dipping the cotton again, and I'm going to wring out more of the liquid so that way we can help the oxidation happen. But yeah, slowly it's getting more and more blue. You guys see that? Oh, this is amazing. I'll have to show you what the rinse water looks like in a second. You guys, this is awesome. This is 100% completely awesome. You know, hoping to avoid dyeing my own hands, and I'm not sure how much indigo I'm going to need to rinse out of this. Probably a lot more, because our dye baths are not, the dye bath is not clear. There's a lot of sediment, but this is awesome. Okay, I still see some green in that cotton, so I'm gonna move it around, and we'll give this some time. But then we'll come back and we'll try to do another dip and see if we get a darker color. Let's go for another dip. If you're going to do multiple dips, you do want to make sure that the color has oxidized completely in between dips. Let's see what our vat looks like. Okay. Sort of push aside. Don't have much of a flower here. And I think it's okay. Guys, we're going for this. We're going for it. Yeah, this is, it was so yellow before. And now, we always talk about how I'm bad with ties. Okay, the wool is not perfectly organized. Oh, actually, that's pretty good. Okay, I've got a handle on both of these again, and let's go in for dip number 2. Now, we'll know that it's working because while it's in here, it should turn green again. Maybe look greenish. Yeah, it's starting to look green. This is so cool, you guys. Oh yeah, do you see that? I wish, I hope that you guys can see, but I'll give a little hint. It's definitely greenish beneath the surface. I think it takes a little bit of time because, you know, you've got to reduce things again, but yeah, see that green? I hope you guys can see it. It's really hard because I can't tell what you guys can and cannot see. But after this, after this dip, I think I'm gonna start filming a new episode, and we'll do some multiple dips so that way we can see if we get some kind of gradient. Oh, I am so excited. So excited. Okay. I think we've been in here, I have no idea how long, and I can't really see. Okay, I'm gonna take this out, and you see I should be wringing this up beneath the surface, but it is definitely yellow, and the wool once again turned blue really fast. Sticking that in the wash, rinse, covering up our vat. Where's the yarn? So you can see that there's definitely going to be a lot of rinsing that's going to need to take place. This rinse bath is really dark. And I'm honestly not too sure I'm not too sure if this is darker. I wish I had a snip or something. Let me zoom in on this. There we go. Hopefully the exposure is pretty good. But yeah, so right now, actually I'll bring this a little higher. So right now, it's hard for me to tell what you guys are seeing on camera, but I see a teal and a blue. Those are the two colors I am seeing in the yarn right now. There is, no question that the wool is looking like a blue, but it definitely looked green to me under the surface, but pretty much instantaneously the color in the wool was able to oxidize. The cotton, probably because it's got a little more liquid, the cotton is taking longer, but it is definitely getting more and more blue with time. Yeah. And so from here, the next step, and yeah, just as I'm chatting, this is already, maybe like a spruce color. But I don't know. I think these may be darker from before, but I think it'll be helpful to do the experiment where I actually do. My plan is I'm going to start with one skein, do one dip, then I'm going to take that and a new one and do one dip. So we'll get sort of like a gradient. But we're going to start with. Anyway, I'll talk about that in the next video. But yeah, this is close to done. I am going to go ahead and swap out the rinse water with some fresh, so that way we can try washing this and see how much color is going to come out. Alright, the rinse bucket, I just refilled it half full with fresh water, and let's see how dark this gets when we add our yarn to it. Yeah, that's a deep cloud. I mean, the good news is that even with that dip, I still see a lot of color in the yarn. But there is no doubt there is going to be a ton of washing. So I think I'm going to go ahead and rinse this a few times outside before we go inside to wash this yarn. Okay, here's a bit of an update. After my third rinse, the water is like, they're still bleeding, but the water is nowhere near opaque. We still have tons of color in our yarn. This is a great sign. So yeah, I think that I might do some more dyeing, but I'm gonna set this aside so that way we can wash it later. Woohoo! Well, we have a case where I thought I was filming again, but I wasn't. I came inside and to the rinse water I just added a healthy splash of white vinegar to help neutralize the yarn a bit. They were in some basic conditions when we were in our bath. Now, I've rinsed this enough outside that I feel comfortable using my bare hands again. But I was just saying that I hope I don't dye my bathroom sink. However, you know, I think with lots of rinsing we should be fine. I also hope that I don't, I hope that I don't felt the wool, but I'll take a look at that towards the end as well. One of the things that's surprising is I actually see some color in these acrylic ties. But I'm not sure how permanent or anything that is. But honestly, I'm not seeing color transfer to my hands. And I don't think it's the acidity, but there's barely any color left. You can definitely see, maybe you can't tell, but there's some particles in here. And that's some of the sediment that is still coming off. But in general, man, this washing isn't nearly as bad as I had expected. I was expecting I was going to have to sit here and rinse for like an hour or something. So I was honestly quite nervous. But now I'm going to use some of my favorite clear dish soap. And we'll see if this causes more color to come out. Okay, the water is looking blue again. But honestly, that is not bad. That low level of color in the water compared to this color that we see in the yarn from just 2 dips. I am just really happy. Really happy with how this is coming out. And yeah, I am going to keep rinsing this until the water runs clear. But let's see how, you know, some came out with that first soap wash. Okay, we're still seeing some bleeding. Okay, this might take a little longer than I thought. And like with many hand-dyed yarns, sometimes when you wash something and you get the water to run clear, you hang it up to dry. Sometimes when you go to block something, you can get some pale color coming out. You know, that kind of thing can happen. But I always recommend, even if you have something that is machine washable, that you wash it on its own or with like colors for the first time, just in case. Yeah, so we still got some bleeding. I got all excited there for a second. But I'm not seeing a ton of new sediment come out. So anyway, I will be back when the yarn is dry, and at that stage we will go ahead and do a rub test. And what is a rub test, you might ask? The rub test we'll see if any of the color rubs off on our hands. So maybe I'll try like a white t-shirt or something, so that way we can see if the color, you know, is all in the yarn or what. But I'm actually a little interested in that acrylic. But anyway, we'll see you soon. Remember when I said there might not be hours and hours of rinsing? Well, oh, that's actually looking a bit better. But I've been rinsing a while, so I don't want you to think that this was as easy as I thought it was going to be at first, but all things considered, it's not so bad. Here is the finished dry yarn. These are the first skeins of yarn that I successfully dyed in my indigo vat. It was a lot of work to get it working, but boy, oh boy, was it worth it. Watching the color change from the neon yellow green to this deep, deep blue was exhilarating, and I am still extremely excited about it. One of the things that's really interesting to me looking at these finished yarns is the hue difference between the 100% wool, this was the Wool of the Andes worsted weight yarn, and the 100% cotton, which was the Knit Picks Dishy line. And I think, I forget the exact color that I had used. I'll put it in the description, but I believe it was an off-white. I think both of the bare yarns looked pretty similar, but the blue on the wool is a little more dusty, a little more gray maybe than the one on the cotton, which is almost a little more green. Now, obviously it's completely oxidized at this point, but it has a little more of a marine blue versus a slate blue from the wool. Speaking of the wool, it's not felted, but it's not felted either. It's knittable. I'd be able to pull it apart, but there's no question that the actual strands might be lightly felted together. So like if I twist it, the plies are a little stuck together. Now I'd be able to pull the plies apart, so that's why it's only lightly felted, but and you know, it's usable. You could still make a really, really beautiful project out of it, but a lot of rinsing and washing did go into this project. Now, I think that maybe if you set up your vat correctly, and the first time you set up your vat, you didn't have extra sediment and stuff that you had to get out of there, maybe there would have been a little less rinsing, and so maybe the wool would have come out a bit better. But this is something that I do want to point out. In fact, with this wool yarn, I will probably reskein it before I put it in the ChemKnits Creations Etsy store. And I mean, as I showed you, you can still see all of the plies. If the fiber was completely felted, you would lose that definition from the 4 plies in the yarn. It's just, I can tell, I use this yarn enough that I can tell from the feel that the fibers are starting to intermingle with one another a bit randomly. So I will reskein this yarn before I put it in the ChemKnits Creations Etsy store. Now I washed and washed and washed and washed these yarns. How about a little rub test? I'm doing it on the cotton. This is just like a cotton cloth. Rubbing it on, and I don't see from just rubbing it, although I did get some flecks from this cotton rag on there, great. This rubbed onto the there, not the other way around. I don't see any blue transfer onto my rag, which is great. This means that we have successfully dyed our fiber with indigo. If we had gotten some color, but it wasn't rub fast, then I would worry about it being wash fast. But I think the rub test is maybe a nice way to show that things worked out. I would like to give a huge, huge thank you to Stony Creek Colors for not only sending me their American-grown indigo that they extracted from the plants themselves, but for also working with me to troubleshoot this vat. They worked with me to come up with a new recipe, with a strategy to isolate the indigo, to give this another shot. And without their help, I might have just given up. And I'm so happy that I was able to get this to work. And Stony Creek Colors now has a protocol and a kit to make your own indigo hydrosulfite vat. It includes the Rit Color remover that I used in this video, and their instructions on how to set this up from scratch without having to resurrect a failed vat. I'll put a link to the kit and the protocol in the video description. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I am so glad that my Indigo Week is more than just a failed vat. I am happy that I was able to turn it around and create some beautiful color. And now, stay tuned for more new videos this week that feature my Hydrosulfite Indigo Vat. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel. I love to experiment and explore different ways to apply color to yarn, and I always film my attempts so that way you can experience it along with me, and you can see my failures and my successes, and we will all learn something along the way. So if you don't want to miss out on any new content, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.